Justin Marshall joins us, 81S for the All Blacks. He'll be at the World Cup and he'll be calling it for Super Sport. Marshy, welcome back.
Yep, good afternoon to you, Devs. Good afternoon to everybody joining us.
Let's talk first briefly about what you saw on Saturday afternoon in Dunedin, and then we'll go on to the World Cup squad. Are we meant to be worried about what we saw in the first half, or is that just what we should have expected given the amount of changes that were made?
Oh, look, I don't think we should expect the All Blacks to be a bit dysfunctional, albeit, Australia were really accurate in everything that they did. When we had this discussion last Monday, I was very adamant that I didn't feel that Ian Foster should be naming a side that is anything bar the one they had named for the 3 Test match previous, because I felt that they had really good momentum, they had good confidence, they were really starting to get in sync with the game plan, and I didn't feel that making wholesale changes just to give people an opportunity to play in such a short window of warm-up that we've got was the right idea, and it proved to be that way. Things got better in the second half, but that was only ultimately after introducing a few players that had been in previous Test matches. So, I don't think it was a good decision. I don't think it was great in terms of stifling what was already starting to be created. So I think it was a step backwards.
How are we meant to assess now those 4 matches and then the South African one going into the tournament? At some stage, we've got to see all these players, don't we? And it's, the way the build-up goes, I look at it like this. We got France, major game. That means the 18 plays. Then we go Namibia. Then we've got Italy. And I'd suspect that the 18 will play that game. Then there's Uruguay. Then there's the quarterfinal. Is that how you see it going as well, that we'll see them every second game? We'll see our first 15?
I hope not. I just feel that we need to continue to keep trucking these players out that are going to be the team that played that quarterfinal. That side just needs to, again, they just need to galvanise. They need to be really assured of the game plan. They need to be confident. And chopping and changing, I don't think helps that at all. Like honestly, Marty, what they gave Shaun Stevenson a Test match and they gave Samipeni Finau a Test match. Now they're now All Blacks, but they're not even the Rugby World Cup squad. Now, what the hell did that achieve? Honestly. So I'm a bit lost as to why they did what they did at the weekend. I still feel very adamant that if they're going to give players game time, they feel that they need it. They should know enough about them now if they're in a World Cup squad. Give them the time off the bench, but let that team create its own rhythm and synergy, and let them go through. Look, at the end of the day, it's 7 Test matches to win a Rugby World Cup. Now, that's not a hard ask for the modern player. Super Rugby teams do it. For the second half of the season, they just truck the players out there. So, in my mindset, no, I wouldn't like to see them completely change the team during the course of the Rugby World Cup. To give players a run. Give them a run off the bench.
Justin Marshall's on the platform with us. A couple of things about that. Okay, so we have a rule in Super Rugby where you're not allowed to play 5 matches in a row. And also last year we had this opportunity when we had Wales, Scotland and then England to play that 18 3 weeks in a row, which is what's going to have to happen to win this tournament, quarter semi-final within 15 days. Is a first 15 capable of playing 3 Test matches in a row in that time?
Well, that's what they stand them down from Super Rugby for. Honestly, they say that they need to preserve these players that have international rugby because they play more volume than anyone else. So they stand them down so they actually are capable of playing test after test after test. So that's the rationale behind it. Look, at the end of the day, think of last year's end-of-year tour where they made wholesale changes in the Scotland game and nearly got caught with their pants down again.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, is... Look, I played in really good All Black teams, and I had All Black teams that, where we struggled away. But yet, even in both cases, for the majority of the time, we trucked the same team out, and we got very good at winning. We got very good at knowing each other. Like Steve Hansen, for all he goes on about the fact that he feels Ian Foster needs to experiment and he needs to try players out, his success was built on trucking the same team out every week. Martin Devlin and Conrad Smith were there. Corey Jane was there along with Ben Smith and Israel Dag out the back. Aaron Smith was the halfback, DC was the 10. They just put the same side out, the same Lucy's, Kieran Reid, Jerome Kano, Richie McCaw. So, and they were incredibly successful. So why all of a sudden is this mindset of Ian Foster that you need to give out All Black jerseys and then all of a sudden those guys are not even in the picture? And the other guys that are starting to find some rhythm, that back row of Frizzell, Ardie Savea and Sam Cane were starting to really get some rhythm. Frizzell was playing out of his skin. Well, okay, now he's had too much, or we feel that we need to try something else. It's like bullshit, mate.
I agree. I agree with him. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I agree. That's why I'm asking you the questions, because we're sitting here scratching our heads as fans going, why? What is this? I know that you have to be interchangeable, don't you? Because at a World Cup we'll get injuries. And so every one of those 33, to me, has to be able to be selected to play. Otherwise, why the hell are you on the plane to start with? So I suppose his way of thinking is that, look, I need to see these guys under pressure, under load, as opposed to just on a training paddock. But as you say, if you've already been selected at that level for the All Blacks, you've got to be able to play. You have to play.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely you have to. And look, I got to 2 semi-finals of Rugby World Cups, but in 2003, we got beaten by a very good Australian side. We're probably guilty of looking too far ahead. We were looking at England because we put 50 on them when we'd played them about 6 weeks prior. But we nearly dropped the ball, in one of our pool games, and that's because we made changes when we probably didn't need to. And equally, in '99, when John Hart all of a sudden decided that Christian Cullen was a centre and Jeff Wilson was a fullback, it was like, what the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the time or the year to experiment. It's the time where in 3 years you've built a side that goes along and has the know-how, has the combinations to win the Rugby World Cup. It's not a year to be asking questions. You should have the answers to those questions by now, and those players should be ready to front up, stand up and go and win that World Cup together.
Justin Marshall with us. Is this squad good enough from what you see to go and win that tournament right now with the other teams in front of us?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Like I said, that team that he was starting to select regularly was playing really good rugby. Put away a very good Springbok side. Had to answer some questions when they brought their bomb squad in. Coached with that. Never easy in Argentina. Went over there, performed really, really well. Great performance against Australia out in Melbourne. And then, obviously they made the changes last weekend. But there was enough there that I saw of an adaptation in the game plan. Certainly, particularly the ball carriers and the forwards were doing different things than they've been doing the previous 2 years. Plenty of firepower and strike presence in the back three. Jordan's on fire. You've got Talia, you've got Finau, should he enter into the mix. There's enough there for sure. Good generals in Aaron Smith and Richie Mo'ongas is probably the best. He's played rugby in the black jersey at the moment. Look at him at the weekend. So Lucy's were functioning really well, as I mentioned before. Competition for places at lock between Barrett, Retallick and Whitelock. I thought Whitelock was probably best on park last weekend. So, yeah, man, we're in a good place and we are more than capable of winning this World Cup. Just got to make sure we get our rhythm right.
Justin, if you have a worry about the squad, if we are weak anywhere or concerns, what would they be? Or are you entirely happy?
I think Lester Fainga'anuku was included because I feel that if we find out that we're lacking some genuine punch in the 13 jersey because we don't have a big, robust, hard ball carrier, I think he fits into that. And that might be something that the All Blacks look at if they're not able to break through some of these really stubborn defences that France and Ireland and South Africa in particular throw at us. So that could be a slight adaptation. Yes, centre, they may have to look at that, just depending on what we see defensively from some of those top teams in the world. The only other 2 areas where I'm a little bit wondering whether or not we've got enough depth and experience as 9, should we lose Aaron Smith? And then equally, number 8. I don't feel they got the blend and the mix right. I would have gone for an extra loose forward and not the extra outside back. I think there's enough cover in the back three with players that can play wing and fullback that we needed to carry, I feel, another loosey. If Ardie Savea falls over, I've not seen enough out of Luke Jacobson to know that he could go into a semi-final of the World Cup and be our number 8. And equally, taking another big blindside, it meant that possibly, should we lose Ardie, Frizzell could go to number 8 and you could put a Samipeni, Finau or somebody like that on the blind side rather than having to move Scott Barrett to the blind side. So, that would be the one area, number 8, that I'm not quite sure they got that blend right and left a Lucy out at expense of an outside back.
In terms of the halfbacks, would you have put Weber in there at the expense of Christie? Would you take Roygaard? Would that be the 3 that you would have chosen?
Yeah, they are the 3 that I would have initially chosen anyway, and obviously that's not the way that they went. I don't believe that you'll get anything but grit, determination, energy out of Finlay Christie, no doubt about it. But he's still quite green, and I just feel Brad Weber's a lot more mature. He's still playing really, really great rugby. He played outstandingly well when he went over to Japan with that All Blacks 15, whatever you want to call it, and had a great Super Rugby campaign.
You hate that, don't you? You hate that. You hate it like I hate it, mate. I don't call them the All Blacks 15. I call them New Zealand 15. I refuse to call it that. They're not the bloody All Blacks, mate. We got one All Black side, right? I'm sick of this bollocks. I hate it.
Yeah.
You played for our national team, Justin. They're the All Blacks. The team that you played for is the All Blacks, okay? That's the All Blacks.
That's right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying, and I'm on the same page, believe me.
Some texts that are coming. Listen to these. Preach, Justin, preach, I fully agree. I don't usually agree with Marshy, but on this he's 100%. Stop playing the no-names. It's about combinations and hardened rugby. And another one says, well said, Justin, just play the top team every game. Can they though? Can you start against France? And you're going to have to rest some during that period of group matches before you play the quarterfinal. No, you play them all.
I don't agree.
Okay.
Look, if you're in Ireland and South Africa's pool, yeah, you're going to have to at some stage during that pool, when they play Romania, with the greatest respect, that's when you might have to rest a few players. But the All Blacks have got Namibia, Uruguay, and Italy after France.
That's it.
Now, if those players can't go out there and play in those games, at a really high tempo, they're not going to massively get battered around. With due respect, these are third-tier nation sides that they come up against. Yeah, Italy may offer a little bit of resistance, but in general, hit France running. Beat them at the start of France. Keep your momentum going. If you want players to get a bit of time, get them into the game off the bench and let that team just be absolutely firing, and they hit a quarter-final that is likely to be against South Africa or Ireland. You need to be on all cylinders when you hit that quarter-final. Believe me, two of the top 4 teams in the world are going to go out in the quarter-finals. One of either Ireland, France, South Africa, or
us. Or us, yeah. Or us.
Us.
One of us. I don't want to say it. I didn't want to say it out loud. Yeah, that was all.
No, heaven forbid. So, you've got to be absolutely on fire by the time you hit that quarterfinal. Not messing around with your side, and we don't need to worry about our players getting beaten up like that pool that South Africa are in. When they've got Ireland in their pool, they've got Tonga in their pool, they've got Scotland in their pool. That's a tough old pool, that one.
Appreciate that, Justin. We'll talk next week, mate. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, Dev. Cheers, mate.
Justin Marshall, 81 Tests, veteran of the All Blacks, calls it on Sky Sport. He'll be with Super Sport for the Rugby World Cup.